Talk about dichotomy. You have one person that's like, who can't get out of here fast? And the other person going, oh my God, I got 4 more years of this stuff. It's too funny.
Only
It's
to
not-
a lame
It's
duck.
not, it's not lost on me. No, ma'am.
It is 11 o'clock by the clock on the wall. So I will call to order the Isabella County Board of Commissioners Finance Administration Committee meeting. We have the approval of the agenda. I would ask, maybe if we have time, 2 discussion items to be added as number 8 and 9, and then renumber accordingly. First one being discussion regarding hiring freeze. And the second one, discussion regarding the opioid settlement funds. 2 things I thought about while on vacation. I don't know if there's any disagreement with
None for
addition of
me,
those
sir.
two.
Good to get us up to date.
Do we need to have a motion then to approve the amended agenda?
I would so move both of those items.
I will second. Any further discussion? All in favor of adopting the agenda as amended? Vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. Opposed, same sign. It's adopted. We call a call to the public. All familiar faces.
You suspects.
Anybody online?
No one online at this time, Mr. Chairman.
All right, then we're gonna move on to our first item, which is consider approving the annual contract with Secure Alarm Systems Incorporated for the period of October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025 in the amount of $11,052 for the Isabella County Trial Court and Isabella County Commission on Aging, and authorize the board chairperson to sign the same.
Hello.
Morning.
Okay, so with the county building going a little longer in abatement, we finally got this situated for this next coming year. And with the county being out of it for now, there's no cameras, no doors, no anything at the county building. This contract is only for trial court and commission on aging, and only for gold support, no software support, because our equipment is too old. If they even call for software support, they're gonna tell us to get new equipment. So this is a pared down contract to get us through this year, because when the county rebuilds, these entities, trial court and commission on aging, are gonna have to be thought of in that process, because they're all tied.
Mhm.
The sheriff's department's on a separate one, because we did a 6-month, we'll do that next. And so just, I did want to make sure you knew that we got to be included in whatever you're moving forward for the county building. They, you know, they're on our servers, they're on all of it, and everything we have is old. As far as the switches are back from 2009, the controllers 2009, the servers are from 2015, but that obviously is going to be 10 years old before we replace them. So just so you know, and even the software that runs the video, the cameras, is too old. We can't even upgrade cameras to run on that software. So we were gonna look at an RFP for a new system if we were still in the county building for the 25 budget. Didn't happen. I'm just making sure you know, when you go forward in the, the redo, that this stuff has to be considered.
Yes.
So it probably doesn't make sense now to upgrade the Commission on Aging building. Is their equipment the same?
It's the same. They tie with us.
It'd be better to probably do a RFP for both.
All of
For
us, yeah.
all of it, you
Yeah.
could go forth and start with these buildings, because we have the pieces we need, or the county building pieces. I just forget losing. We have them at the sheriff's department in our little county bubble. I don't know how to put it. Our networks are separate, and so the county portion of the network still exists at the sheriff's department. So we could put things in ahead of time to, if it came down, if we got good pricing, whatever, that can be accommodated. Of course, the cameras and stuff wouldn't be installed in the county building until it was, during rebuild time. But we could literally start looking now, but you do have a year contract to get you through.
In the meantime, a
Yes.
bridge contract, if you will.
Yeah, this is for them, and it's $11,052 for the year. for these two entities.
Okay.
So that's that one.
So regarding updating the equipment at the administration building, it probably doesn't make sense to put it in any contract that we have through the current people that we have.
Correct, well, probably not at
Keep it
this point. I
separate because
think
we save sales tax.
well,
we
we
do it.
will do that in the markup from a construction manager, but
And
the actual hardware will probably be
no, it has.
part
to
of the
be. Yeah,
construction project.
and
Because we'll have to-
I like secure alarm, but you definitely want to have a couple of quotes because they've gotten a little expensive on their redo. That's
And
why
the
the
other-
sheriff didn't go with. it. So.
And I do know that the architect engineers are asking for who certain vendors are, right?
They have
That,
that.
that we have to work with, and Michelle's already given that information.
Some, I haven't.
Some
talked-
vendors that we
Yeah.
can go out to bid for, though,
Right.
we'll be doing that throughout the
Yeah.
project.
Because I mean, this is a big system. It's a lot less with the sheriff's department gone, just so you know,
Sure.
it was around 155 to 200,000 to upgrade everything. In the original
With them
time,
there.
a couple of years ago, it'll be a little more, but I'm just saying, you know, we're the big piece with the audio visual and the recordings and all that was the sheriff's department. They needed more space, they needed more doors, they had more system. So we're the littler part of the system, even though there's three entities.
Okay. Any further discussion on this item? I will make the motion then to consider approving the annual contract with Secure Alarm Systems Incorporated for the period of October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025 in the amount of $11,052 for the Isabella County Trial Court and Isabella County Commission on Aging. Support. It's been moved and supported to move this to the work session next Tuesday. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Moves forward. Next item, consider approving the contract with Secure Alarm Systems Incorporated for a period of 6 months beginning October 1st, 2024 through February 28th, 2025 in the amount of $10,542 for the Isabella County Sheriff's Office Jail and authorize the board chairperson to sign the same.
So this was pulled out because they're gonna be done in they should be in their new building latest February. So they shouldn't need this system as it stands at that point. I know you're considering things with the jail, but as I said, you're gonna need to redo most anyways. So this can sit tight and run on whatever the few cameras you might use over there at this point. But we did need a 6-month contract because they will be utilizing that jail for at least 5 of them.
Okay, so I know Chris and I have been attending the OAC meetings. And my understanding is that there's been some delay in the building that may not get finished until late January, early February.
Yes.
And the sheriff's gonna have to train his people, so it may not get occupied until April or May.
We'll be okay.
Be
They'll
okay?
make it good.
Michelle, this says 6 months, but it's October 1 through February 28th.
So that takes you to March.
So that's 5 months. Would it be March 30? Would,
Yeah.
okay.
So there you go. Sorry about.
So maybe we'll change that before.
Yeah, I'll
Should we
fix
change
it.
it to a 5 month or change
It is a
keep it 6, so change
You
it
have
to the
wait
March
6
30?
months.
Perfect,
March 30. Okay.
perfect.
I
Awesome.
try, I really do. It was a lot getting
If
these.
the last day in February wasn't so important to me, I probably wouldn't have looked at that so hard, but
Yeah, I
oh.
was thinking March,
That's
but
right.
obviously it is
Man.
March 31st. So I'll change that and send that to Julie.
Any further discussion?
No.
Would you like to make this motion?
Sure. Move to take consideration for approving the contract with Secure Alarm Systems, Inc. for the period of 6 months beginning October 1st, 2024 through March 30th, 2025 in the amount of $10,542 for the Isabella County Sheriff's Office Jail and authorize the board chairperson to sign the same. Do I Regular board meeting Tuesday night.
Okay, so this has been moved, and I'll second that. Moved and seconded to take it to our work session next Tuesday. Any further discussion?
Just one more thing, your training out there, we're bringing the network in possibly tomorrow. They're setting up the devices and stuff. The training, they're totally separate. So the training could take place well before they move in
Hmm.
because their equipment's totally separate. The Acusure,
Mhm.
so they'll be
So they
able to
can
train.
begin the process.
Yeah, after they get, the pods are behind a little bit, but once they get that up, they're working on the control center now.
So they
So
can have
you'll
it-
be able to train before any of this,
Okay.
That's like-
That's good.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. It moves forward. Item number 6, consider approving the annual contract with Secure Alarm Systems Incorporated for the period of October 1st, 2024 to September 30th, 2025, in the amount of $2,832 for the Public Defender's Building, and authorize the board chairperson to sign the same. So this is no hitches in this one. It's just a full year contract to continue.
Yeah, with secure alarm for them. Now, I don't know what's going on out there right now, but if they go private, is that what it's? Private,
Nonprofit.
nonprofit,
Nonprofit.
then they've got their own MVR out there. I don't know how that would all work, but I'm pretty sure it can be worked around. They wouldn't need to be well, they can't be on our system at that point.
Sure.
But they do have their own MVR, and I'm sure something could be worked out to make that system still function.
We did talk to Public Defender Hausman this morning at another committee meeting, and his response, he's still researching the opportunity to move maybe to a nonprofit, but that sounded like it would be something for fiscal 26 likely. So
Yeah.
obviously he's gonna work with all the departments if that is a change that comes.
Yep.
Good.
Any further
Effective
discussion?
This period.
Right.
Any further discussion? I will move consideration of the annual contract with Secure Alarm Systems Incorporated for the period of October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025 in the amount of $2,832 for the Public Defender's Building to the work session next Tuesday.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That moves forward.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Michelle.
you,
Have a good
Michelle.
day.
Director Ray.
We'll have our discussion now regarding the fiscal year 25 funding for commissioner training.
Yeah, so it wasn't too long in the new fiscal year where we had some commissioners reach out to sign up for some local events, local training. And as you know, in the zero-based budget, we removed the Board of Commissioner training budget. There's no dollars in there. The commissioner, I spoke with chairman, the commissioner who had requested to be signed up, understands there's no monies in the budget. But soon after that, the MAC Friday update started to advertise the new commissioner school. We know we're likely to have new commissioners on our board. And I think both of you maybe have attended
I
this
have.
training. $125 MSU Extension works in conjunction with MAC to put on the new commissioner school. It's not just for newly elected, but returning commissioners also could get some value out of it. But I think traditionally we've always encouraged newly elected commissioners to attend. $125 is quite a value. I think they have 4 scheduled throughout the state. So a budget amendment for this could be done by lowering an expense in the current year and building up some monies in a commissioner training line item. Melissa had a good idea. If you want to talk about that,
Sure.
finance director.
When we had brought or adopted the budget, one thing that we didn't go in and change for the $500 was for the commissioner in District 4, that they do not get that additional 500 on top of the full $7,000 that
Hmm.
the commissioner gets. So we left that in there. So that's currently budgeted at $7,500. So we know we cannot lower that commissioner's salary prior to January 1. So a quarter of that will have to be used to get us to January 1. So there's still 3/4 left, or 75%, or $375 of that 500, if we're really, really picking and trying to find somewhere where that can come from. And I want to, how much did you say the commissioner school was?
125, so this would be enough to
It's
send
three.
three if
Send up
Three
three
chose to go.
chose. It was, I thought it was a great idea to
Well-
use monies already in the budget, but
Did you have a chance to attend?
No, I worked for county government for so many years and I
For you, it-
basically understood how
Right.
county government works.
So, as opposed to that, I had none. And I know I
Mhm.
did to finally,
Yeah,
maybe
we-
said enjoyed the day with me and I got a great deal out of it. It gave me the right perspective to start from, gave me a good foundation. Doesn't give you everything, but in terms of the best practices, there were a lot of county commissioners that came in and spoke and just gave you some um, answers to frequently asked questions kind of thing, pitfalls, things to look out for. Just some good overall and good information about what it's like to be a county commissioner, what's expected of you, and what you're going to be stepping into.
and start the network too,
Yes.
right? Start your network of other commissioners throughout the state, which is
Yep.
part of what MAC does, and certainly MSU Extension in that regard too.
Yeah.
So I see this is a combination of online video, you can participate,
Mhm.
but then there's a 1 day program that in is it 4 different locations
It
throughout the
is.
state?
Mhm.
So there's no overnight accommodations,
Mhm.
might have a
Correct.
meal or
You-
something,
You have
but
mileage reimbursement, which I
Mhm.
do think we left.
Built in.
There, we
Yeah, it's
did
still built in.
build in some mileage reimbursement.
well, I know as I thought about this is we could have what, 3 new commissioners? And as I
Yeah.
looked at some of their Facebook pages, I think some of them have a unrealistic idea of what they can accomplish when they get on the board. So I think this would be good. You know, you get new people coming on, it's a long learning curve. But this is a boost to start them on their way.
And
Mhm.
the fact that Director Franquist is able to come up with the money for at least 3.
And the county's always covered it. We've never said, here's a training you can do, pay for it on your own. It's something the county's always covered because we understand the value that it brings to the table when newly elected commissioners attend, so. I
Good.
think this is probably is just the beginning of the discussion, right? If you guys are so agreeable, it doesn't take board motion to do this, this budget amendment.
Mhm.
I can move that for $75, so without board approval, create that training budget for you commissioners.
Made the line item for.
Yeah. If 3 people don't take advantage of that opportunity, you'll have a little bit in your training budget available. But I think the bigger discussion is maybe not just the school, new commissioner school, but as these things come up, as the economic outlook luncheon comes up, right? As the chamber events or CVB or
Things
MMDC.
that are very pertinent to what we do.
They can be. Right now, we're just bringing them forward individually. I guess as it comes, a bigger conversation might be, do you just want to find some monies to build in for commissioner training? Right now, we're just talking about new commissioner school. That's all we're doing. I think based on this conversation, we'll just move the monies. This probably won't go forward to the full board unless you, probably want to have the discussion there, just to make them aware of it, but it doesn't take their approval. It would
No.
just be a discussion at that point.
Okay,
I think we should involve them.
so MAC is looking for registrations now, even before the election, so we don't know if we're gonna have 3, 2, 1
Correct.
new commissioner.
Correct. We won't.
So,
When is the deadline to?
yeah, what is the deadline?
I think there was, the 16th is sticking out in my head.
October?
No, November.
Oh.
I mean, we're well out in front of it funding wise.
Right. We could ideally reach out to these commissioners, as you guys did me, if I reached out to you and offer it to them
Yeah, after the fifth.
after the
Absolutely, yeah.
election. I
Yep.
think that's something you should do, you know,
Good idea.
that we,
So just a follow-up question. I know we eliminated the education portion of commissioner budget. Kept money in there for mileage for
Yes.
those commissioners that are required to travel for their
Right,
meetings.
yes, you've got it.
Okay.
Mhm. When you go to northern Michigan counties, or I know Commissioner Marino sits on some committees at Michigan Association of Counties, you know, they
Yep.
expect, there's no cost to attend, obviously, but we still want to reimburse mileage. We did keep that in the budget, although I would remind commissioners that we do have county vehicles that you could check out, just as our county staff does when attending county functions, so that's available too.
Okay. Well, been lucky, Gratiot County goes to some of the meetings, so I hitchhike with them
That's great,
and so that's why you haven't found any charges from me on that.
that's great.
Okay, so we're just gonna put this as a discussion item on the agenda then.
Really?
The next item is a discussion regarding the hiring freeze. So as of the way, I was continuing to watch my county emails. And I noticed you had lost another person in administration and you're advertising internally. And I think others have been advertising internally. Some of those positions, I don't think are really, you're gonna find applicants internally.
Right.
I don't want to just lift the hiring freeze until after the election. But I'm just wondering if we shouldn't make some exceptions that when you have a HR person or accounting person,
essential function.
essential function, that we should be able to go out of in the general community to seek those positions to fill them.
I feel like you already had the forethought in your motion to do that. So the hiring freeze motion was specifically for general fund funded positions. And it said, unless the duties of the position had some kind of essential function. I'll have to look up the motion
Mandated
to see,
function or
to
essential
see
function.
what that said, but so, for instance, your administrator controller position, right? You have to have one of those, we're posting for that. Payroll position, we have to have a payroll position. We're posting for that. AP, we have to have an AP clerk. We're posting for that. But we're doing it, and what HR is requiring is everyone do that internally first. I don't know that that was part of the motion back when you passed the motion, but I know it was part of that discussion. So we do take a look, is it an essential position? And then we're posting those internally for, I think, a week or two, and then posting externally after that. So there is that process to look at. Again, I apologize that the motion is escaping me, but it had something to do with if it had to be filled, there was a mechanism in the hiring freeze to fill it.
Okay,
And that motion was only for general fund funded positions.
Great.
Looking out at the treasurer's office, I know they've got some positions funded through PA 123 or delinquent tax. If there was turnover there would be no freeze, right?
okay.
General fund.
So then just the general for the general fund supported positions, are we looking at? Wonder if we shouldn't lift that after the election, once we know the outcome of the public, not public safety, but the road patrol knowledge.
So that it doesn't go internal first and then just goes external, is that what you mean?
Well, I mean, it can do both. I think it,
Let's vote.
yeah, just wondering if should be the time that we lift the hiring freeze, bring it back to county administrator's discretion.
Because all positions would be budgeted for at that point of
They're
what-
already in the
of what-
2025 budget. And it takes time to hire somebody, so why not get a jump on it as soon as possible, get following the Swaney principle. Being them boom. If there are positions that need to be filled, let's get them filled. If we have the money for it.
Do we need to take a
You know,
motion on that?
I feel like it was put in place because the financial future was a little less certain.
Yes.
Our operating
We didn't know if-
renewal is.
we didn't know if that was gonna
Passed,
pass,
right, you
right.
know, and so I think the picture maybe is different now. the goal is different from when it was put in place. But you're right, starting October 1, any position that would open is
Published.
fully, fully funded, right? In that zero-based budget in the fiscal 25, so.
Why not? It's that we can untie the hands of our department heads and electeds. Feel like that's what we're doing now when we, essentially we have, as long as the November 5th village request passes for the sheriff's road patrol, should be able to begin to move on.
So we just take a motion then, we considered that we're going to remove the hiring freeze effective November 6th.
I feel like maybe you would want to wait for after the election to have that.
The first board
discussion.
meeting after. Yeah.
Okay.
You can probably have a discussion about it, but again, no motion or anything
Yes.
like that until after.
Okay. So this
Wanna do
discussion
something?
doesn't need, I don't think needs to go to the work session. Just, it was just an idea of what we need to do.
And
moving forward.
and you need to understand how it's operating right now, and it's good practice, I
I
think.
think it should still stay as
To
a
be
SOP.
internal only
I think it
first,
should be as.
that's just like saying, here's our family and we want to look inside our family for our new hires. And to me, that seems like a really good practice. Obviously, you're not gonna find certain positions within always from the collective, but it's for someone else maybe to decide, but it's good practice.
Any more discussion on this item? We'll move on to the next general discussion item, and that's regarding the opioid settlement funds. I know we've been waiting, haven't heard anything back from the Attorney General on whether or not we can move these funds to the Community Foundation for investment and management of the funds for us. And I'm thinking, rather than wait, I did get an email from one of my constituents that was wondering where we stood with the use of our funds. And I know that good 51% or more of the counties still haven't done anything with their funds. Some are using them for various programs and various uses. But I'm just wondering if maybe the next step we should take, because this would then allow us to start setting up some of the parameters for use of those funds, but to put these funds in a directed, a protected fund under the treasurer's administration, that move it all in there, so all the interest goes in there. And then we can work to set up a commission, and we can set up the grant requirements necessary to have access. The letter that I got from one of my constituents said we have over $900,000 that have come in so far. And so if the interest follows principal, there's already some dollars that could be used to that. And I know if it's a county fund, it doesn't limit it to
Right.
just the principal,
Mhm.
which if it was a community foundation, it would be just the interest.
Right.
But we could understand that, move forward unless
Take
there's something
advantage.
comes up with a future commission to change that we use the interest to address some of the needs, which are great in our community.
They are, and I understood just in the last couple of days from Commissioner Marino, I feel like it was Substance Abuse Coalition, maybe a meeting that he was at where some of the local dollars that we've enjoyed are no longer there specifically for opioid remediation. I suspect because, yes, they know there's these other pools of money out here for that now. So I think you'll soon see requests for that money if we can get this set up. So I can absolutely start doing that in-house.
So I'm wondering
Set that up.
if that's
The
something.
fund, it's already in a, you talked about its own fund or a protected fund. It's already in its own fund. It is protected for that specific use. Can't be used for other dollars. So rest assured that that's already happened. It's just the mechanism to how are we gonna pull the money out? How are we gonna use it? How are we gonna set up that grant? The grant applications.
Who's on that committee and
Mhm.
who makes those decisions?
The settlement by the, pardon?
Like cigarette tax.
Yes, kind of. Yeah, it's, we're allowed so much for admin, for opioid remediation, but it all has to be used essentially for opioid remediation efforts.
So, and I envision those funds that portion that can be used for administration, you have to make reports. So maybe we need to hire somebody to make these, is it every 6 months a report or is that annual?
I think it's annual for opioid, and a lot of it so far has been kind of silent, because it's, if you haven't spent any, you don't have to report, right? So the reporting thus far has been, they only want to know if you spent opioid dollars on something other than opioid remediation, so we haven't had reporting due yet.
And then I think we need to set up a commission from those, public service providers that would be in the know to make decisions for grants. And they'll be getting a stipend. I don't know if they need to meet monthly, whether it's quarterly or maybe twice a year. So those will be use of some of those dollars, but I think the sooner we move on that, I think it's good PR for the board. And obviously, we don't need to set up the fund. Does the interest rate now that accrues stay with that fund too? Do you know what that fund dollar amount is? Somebody told me it was over 900,000. I don't know. Just looking up right now.
9, 10, 11, 1.1 million
1.1 million.
currently, yep. As of
So
9:30.
I guess, I don't want to go before the, Isabella Substance Awareness Committee. They have a meeting coming up, I think, next week. It'd be nice to be able to say we're ready to start moving forward with a commission and get recommendations.
The state,
Probably a committee,
the committee.
not a commission.
A committee?
Yeah, probably a committee, yeah. You're thinking the Board of Commissioners would establish a committee. So maybe similar membership to what we had been meeting, Health Department, Community Mental Health, Sheriff's Office, Commissioners.
Mhm.
I know we had our community foundation involved. I don't know that we still would. 1016. Actually, I think the MAC resource, opioid resource website
There's a
has,
list.
who
Potential
needs to be,
stakeholders.
potential stakeholders. I know one thing we were lacking was lived experience, and that's something we would want to look to have on that committee. That might be something that we include in when we're advertising for vacant appointments. You might, for that lived experience, you're not just necessarily gonna handpick someone, or maybe you want to, but you would probably have public application for those seats on those committees for certain spots. And so I think that's probably the first thing, is to get that committee makeup. Is that the committee you would think that would oversee the annual grant process and make recommendations to the board for
Correct.
grant
I would think
funding?
so.
And so that's why I'm thinking, I know there's probably 40 people on the Awareness Council, but they're not all licensed providers through various services. And I think it's important to have licensed providers on that committee then to be able to look at a grant application, to know of its value and its application in the county, to make sure there's no duplication and the like. But I think we need to start moving on that. Is this something we can just throw on discussion then for the,
Sure.
Work
make sure
session?
make sure that we're heading in the right track.
Yep.
Mhm.
well, I do attend that meeting. I think the undersheriff attends it. Sometimes the sheriff attends it, but I think I'm going to just say we're working in this regard. We don't know the outcome yet, but please know that we were gonna, if we move this way, we're gonna set up a committee. We're gonna need some good recommendations. Hopefully people internally that will apply for seats on that committee.
Yeah.
And we're gonna need some help writing the grant guidelines. Maybe there's already some templates out there,
Mhm.
but
I think at that meeting, he should maybe have that list of the people that should be sat on that
Mhm.
committee.
That is a good
That you
idea.
bring that list and you provide them with that information so they can begin that process, at least making recommendations for those positions or those seats. I think that would be advantageous.
Because some will be public that you apply for, but some will
Mhm.
just be by virtue of the position,
Correct.
right? You want
Yep.
the sheriff or his designee, you want
Mhm.
the director of community mental health or their designee, right? You want
Yep.
your local health officer from your health department or their designee kind of thing. So there is no public application for
But
those
for
seats,
that are
but
public.
like the lived experience or something,
Mhm.
yeah, so that list, I think will be able to delineate that.
And they can begin that process of encouraging people to get involved.
And I
So
think our partners, 1016 or Recovery,
community
360,
mental health.
you know, they'll help us to
Find the right
find
people.
those folks too, if need be.
Okay, so I know this isn't high on a priority because you've got all this stuff on your plate, but could you
This
send
isn't-
me a copy of one of our committees so I can take a look at that, maybe do some modifications on it for consideration as we move forward and
Bylaws and that kind of thing.
bylaws?
Good idea.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Any further discussion?
Discussion, anything?
Uh, we'll move on to the invoice list then. First one is February 27th.
February, seems odd.
What did I say? September 27th.
He's got February on the brain too.
I can't help you there. I don't.
The months get lost anymore when I'm on
I was
vacation.
gonna say, he's still on
Vacation
vacation.
brain usually happens
Yeah.
before you go on vacation.
Still on it.
As I looked at those, I didn't see any of them that weren't quite familiar with routine approvals. I did see the furnace replacement at Central Dispatch.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's a general fund expense probably, or do we have anything budgeted for that?
Yes,
Or is it-
actually, it's out of facilities budget.
No, that's out
Here,
of
101.
dispatches budget.
Shoot, on the invoice list, it's 101,265.
Yes, we've since had conversation about that. That'll be,
Okay. That'll be moved.
well, yeah, I don't know if that'll show up, that won't show up on an adjustments list, but
Internally a little bit. more.
internally it will be moved after
Perfect.
discussion of where that should go.
Perfect.
I mean, we
Okay.
can put it on an adjustments
No.
list, but
If it's,
that,
if it's correct.
there
now,
are
it's-
things we change, such as if someone transposed a number on an invoice or something.
Right.
Those don't usually make the adjustments list. Usually it's monetary or a whole new vendor that maybe got put to, you've seen those before.
Mhm.
Normally if it's,
Money went out and it was approved. Yeah.
yeah,
the accounting.
Yep.
but if
That's
you
right,
want
we
that
did talk
changed,
about
we
this.
can add those to it as well. It's gonna be a really long list.
No.
But we can.
As long as the money's in the right.
So this will be, that'll be central dispatch budget.
Yes.
Okay, Thank you.
correct like that.
And then I see Pete's Auto Body, 6,000 for police vehicle repairs. I guess the car deer accidents are coming to season. So you're seeing a lot more carcasses alongside the road now.
You're right.
I didn't have any questions on the internal
No,
smaller bills.
I did not. Those are pretty
Then let's
straightforward.
move on to the October 4th.
That was
There's a lot in this one, yeah.
a lot on this one.
Okay.
I didn't see anything on the larger 5,000 plus bills, but I do have a question. And I don't know if I've asked this before, but I was looking at the internal bills and there's Shelley Nelson, $525. It's department's a clerk for election contractual services, but it's being charged to printing and binding. Why is that? And I've seen that before.
Yeah.
And that,
I feel like that's been a conversation before. So you're bringing up elections budget right now.
Not the budget, but I'm looking at the invoice list.
My understanding just is that the money from the townships, some of that money went into that particular line item. Was my understanding, and the help that Shelley is providing for elections is getting paid out of that from
But
the
that's,
township.
that's not the early voting line
That's not the
item.
ear-
No,
no.
that's just their printing and binding line item. If there are anything that has to do with the early voting and the townships and that whole agreement or anything, there are
should be-
specific line items set up for that. That
That's
should
what it
be.
should have been coming out
And
of.
maybe that's what it is, and it wasn't put to the wrong line, put to the correct line item and put in printing and binding, but I will have
Follow up on
to
that.
follow up, but let me look at the backup 1 second. To see what it actually shows on the invoice in the system, to see if it really should be early voting and maybe
Or
it was.
if AP got it.
Yeah, and I don't know when this occurred before, but I do remember reviewing this and that was in the back of my mind. And I can't remember if I mentioned anything about it. But it seems like contractual personnel should go to payroll or contractual and not printing and binding. And if there's a impact with it, it may come up in our audit. If something was inappropriately charged to the wrong line item. Anyhow,
Good catch.
maybe that should be addressed before we approve this. I mean, we'll move it forward, but
Contingent
need to
upon.
have an answer at the work session.
Yeah, I know, I sometimes, things get paid out of incorrect line items.
It
I
happens.
need to look at the budget too, to see in elections, where is money budgeted? I'm wondering if is a line item being used. Sometimes departments will use a line item because there's monies budgeted there versus a line item where it should come out of, and that's just a cultural thing. I think a lot of departments do, and we do journal entries to get it in the right line item, so
Mhm.
we'll check with Clerk Lux and we'll check with, check in AP and see what
Clarify.
Yeah, the AP backup
Check
is
the budget.
for QVF ballot.
I know it happens, but I know
Pre-state
is
list, ballot proofing is what we're paying for, so I don't know, it's.
having served in 3 counties as the Parks and Recreation Director, if I had those needs, I would make a budget adjustment request.
Yep.
I wouldn't charge it the wrong one, but I'd
Right, and
say,
that's culturally what we encourage departments to do, but I'm saying that can be a reason why.
Okay. Yeah, we should follow procedure,
Mhm.
at least to review that.
so those bunk beds are really dirt cheap. I wonder if, I think, was it Parks and Recreation just ordered some more mattresses or bunks or something?
Yeah.
I wonder if they can get the same deal,
Well,
That's right there.
but
I'm sure we could have a park workshop to make mattresses.
I don't have any more comments or
I did not either, so at this point, no.
questions.
If I have any more, I'll bring them up at the work session.
So then we'll move both those lists to the work session next Tuesday. We'll go to announcements.
Other than that, glad to have you back, sir.
I'm glad to be back and I'm glad to see the article announcing your run as a write-in candidate for District 2.
Thanks, sir.
I think you're an excellent commissioner and hope you come on top. Write-ins are difficult, but we'll give it the best
Yeah,
shot.
and we're gonna give it the best shot. Thank you for that.
Call the public.
Registrar today?
Being none, we'll
Oh, we do have,
a hand up.
well, we have someone jumping into the waiting room, so. Clerk Lux has joined the Zoom. Looks like she's connecting to audio. So I'm guessing she might have a comment.
Okay,
Clerk Lux, if you can hear me, you are muted. There you go. If you want to speak, we should be able to hear you now.
good morning, Mindy. We don't hear you. Oh, you're gonna call.
Can't hear you either. She muted. All right.
No, she's.
Oh, okay. Are you there, Mindy?
Yes, I'm sorry, can you please turn that on? I just want to let you know that is the correct line item. Everything that goes through our office in regards to regular elections comes to that, except for canvassing. And that is something Melissa has set up for us, and we've done this for years. In regards to Shelley Nelson, I am the only one going through everything and reviewing everything, and I do not have the chief deputy trained yet on the election portion. I've talked to Nicole about this, and Shelley has been going over and proofing everything for us. So if you guys want to have a different line item, then Melissa will have to set up something, but everything comes out of elections that is related to elections, which is printing and binding.
So it's good that Shelley's assisting until you have somebody trained. And there's
I
not,
haven't
there's not,
to train anyone yet, I'm sorry.
no, understood. It's just that it stuck out like a sore thumb and maybe we should have a different way to account for
Break
it.
it down.
Yeah,
That would be good. I can't do that. That's something I can meet with Melissa and we can break everything down, even like your Morning Sun ads that we paid for. We used to have it all broken down, but for some reason it was all put back into printing and binding, other than canvassing.
all right. Thank you for giving us a clarification.
Yes, thank
Not a
you.
problem.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
guys.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Well, that settles that.
Very good.
But we should have, I do think we should have it in a way that should be
Not
more
confusing,
reflective of the
yeah.
use, yeah.
Not confused.
And we can do that. It sounds like maybe that was done before. I mean, the elections budget's a pretty small, not a lot of line items. I'm guessing it was done years ago to maybe combine and condense, but
Yeah, we have even a
Definitely.
contractual line in there. If she's contracting with her to do these
That's what I'm
services,
thinking.
maybe it makes more sense in there. It's just, maybe it's just the way they've always done it, but
That's
we
their
can
SOP,
definitely
yep.
add more lines. It's just, even before I was here, before my time, it was done that way, so.
Yep.
We can change it. Good question.
Any more public comments? Hearing none, we'll adjourn the meeting then at 11:47. I'm rounding it up.
It goes on.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
vacation.